If the government came to you today and said, we're offering you a chance to go to space, you have to leave your life that you have right now behind and spend, we'll say, a year in space alone, traveling, and then you'll get to come back. Would you do it?
Yes. No, I don't know. I mean that's a tough one. I think I would definitely be a good recruit for it because I feel
Oh,
like
okay.
so if anybody's listening out there with long-term space missions, I'd ask for a certain price, I think for sure. Well, can we bring pets?
I was
Are
gonna say,
there
yeah. Does the duo get to come with?
that's a big point there, but I would likely say no. I mean, a year away from everything, I feel like even if, when you would come back, it would be like a whole new world almost because I
I
feel
mean,
like
yeah.
stuff it changes that quickly.
You never
So
know. You leave in January of 2020 and you come back, and the world has been, destroyed by a global pandemic. Who knows, man?
yeah, what about you?
I
You
would
you
do
gonna
it.
say yes?
I would. I was talking to Mina about this before, and obviously it would be yeah, contingent on some things. And in this movie, there's a lot of direct lines of communication, but I would love to go to space. I think it would be really something I would enjoy a lot. The being alone would suck, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I could make it work, and happen upon a couple of magic space spiders like they do in Adam Sandler's Spaceman, and you'll have a good time.
Yeah. I didn't think this movie was gonna be like just Paul Dano as a spider, just like having a therapy session with Adam Sandler. I didn't really expect that going in, did you?
Well, I had heard some things about this movie. Obviously,
Okay.
it was released a couple months ago on Netflix. It's on somebody's team. Is it on Steph's
I
team in
think
our
it's Steph's, yeah,
fantasy
because I was gonna
filmography
draft
league?
it for sure.
But it was, I remember the early imagery of it, of like, oh, here's Sandler in a spacesuit. It's supposed to be like a serious sci-fi movie, and Paul Dano's appearing in it. But it was kind of like a mysterious role, or they didn't really like I knew there was something up with it. And then when it came out, I was like, oh yeah, Paul Dano's playing a big ass spider. So when I watched it, I was expecting that, but the movie is still pretty out there, pretty different, pretty unexpected. It's very slow, trippy, contemplative sci-fi. I don't know if it's a lane you would expect from the guy we're talking about today, and Adam Sandler. Despite him doing more and more serious roles over the last couple of years, this still feels like another left turn.
I mean, he's been doing more serious stuff recently, but I feel like he sprinkles in the comedy, every now and again. But I mean, like you said, premise-wise for this, I think it is kind of cool concept. Just, the Sandman going solo in space, got some crazy mission that is important, and it's kind of a race to it. It's kind of like another space race, which I think is cool. Also, too, the backdrop of it I really like you said, too, kind of the trippy sci-fi. I mean, I feel like that's my genre specifically. I had like some Annihilation vibes at times from this movie. And the ending too, it kind of reminds me of Interstellar,
Yeah, I was gonna
funnily.
say it kind of rips Interstellar, but it makes it Interstellar on acid a little bit.
Yeah, it makes Interstellar better, pretty much. But I mean, everything else is that's not really what this movie is about, though. Like, it's about
No,
like Sandler and his relationships, most notably with his wife,
a
who's
very
played.
crying Carrie Mulligan.
Yeah, I feel bad for Carrie Mulligan because I mean, we've raved her a couple times on the pod, and I do think she's a really good actress. But I
We
just
do
don't
need
think
to
she's
do
given much to do.
something about the Netflix casting Carrie Mulligan exclusively as like the teary-eyed wife.
It's true.
It's
It's
twice
back to
in
back.
6 months.
Yeah.
We got to put a stop to. I like Carrie. She's like this thing. She's great in these roles, and like a movie like Maestro, which I do think has its issues, works in large part because she can carry and give such a great performance. This one, I don't think she has even less to work with. She's still very good, but it's a tough role to see her continuously get shoved into.
It is tough, and I mean, she's not even in the movie that much. I think Paul Dano got the and credit, but
Mhm.
he should have really just been second billing. I mean, the majority of this movie is just Sandman and Spider just hanging out and kind of talking and thinking about their past and stuff. So I don't know. I think this movie for me, it's kind of just like I like certain parts of it. I like the overall themes, but like plot wise, I don't really like too much they did, which is tough.
It is a very curious movie in the career of Sandler, and it's a fun one to look at. In 2024, he's had this Netflix deal for many years where he's basically exclusively been appearing in, producing, starring in movies, made for the Netflix corporation, whether it be, like the murder mysteries or your Hubie Halloweens or the Cobblers, whatever it is. I don't know exactly how this movie was made, but like I'm sure Netflix had this script or the script was pitched to him. It was written, and he was like, I want to do something like that. I want to do a sci-fi movie. I want to do, I've been doing these more serious roles. I want to have fun in this type of world. It's not a character that's written for Sandler in any way. And I don't know if this one works because to me, it doesn't use the underlying things that are great about him to its advantage. This is such a laid back and like
He's depressed.
emotionless. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Depressed performance. And I think Sandler can obviously play depressed, but there's always, like Punch Drunk Love, even movies like Happy Gilmore, he's got some mental health issues going on, but there's always so much more passion to his characters, and this one just feels so empty. It's weird.
It almost feels like his anti-type. Like he was literally a guy who did not even care enough to like ask questions about his wife. Like that's how literally he cares about the universe and like himself. So I agree. I don't think like he's even the best in this really. Especially
No.
like all the romantic scenes. I was like, I don't know if he's kind of phoning it in a little bit here.
Technically playing a Czech character as well, Kody. Accent thoughts?
Yeah. I figured it out like halfway through the movie. I'm like, well, first off, I mean, do people even speak English in Czechoslovakia? I don't think so.
Yes, they
I
like,
don't
but
think
it's
so.
not the native. It's not the native language, obviously. People speak English everywhere, and maybe in this future they're supposed because like that's also there was some Russian stuff. I don't know what the like sci-fi world building is here, but it's strange. He speaks with a very light
I mean,
Czech
he does kind
accent.
of look a bit Czech, but yeah, accent work. I mean, there's nothing really there. I feel like it's just Adam Sandler talking. So
Sandler playing to the racially
yeah,
ambiguous nature of
exactly.
his persona, but
He is good at that.
I think this movie's slow and it's trying to be smarter than it is to a certain extent. And it just doesn't fully work for me. There are some cool visuals. I think the
Yeah,
spider works.
yeah.
Mina and I were watching this, late last night, and she was gonna, kind of just watch it and fall asleep, but she ended up just like turning away. She's like, I can't, I cannot see this spider right now. Like I gotta stop watching. And I understand that because it's gross, and then things get grosser with the bugs. So
True.
if you're not into spiders, like this is not the movie for you either.
We get a spider hug as well.
This is an
Spoiler alert, I guess.
arachnophobia warning.
But I agree too. I mean, I think this movie, I would actually recommend this movie. I enjoyed watching it. It is absolutely one of the slowest burns of the year, but I think the payoff at the end was just like something I didn't expect, and I think pretty fun. So
Yeah.
I'd recommend it, but definitely nowhere near kind of. I think it is near a good movie, but it's not a good movie. I think it's right on the edge.
Favorite serious Sandler role that isn't Uncut Gems, Kody? What do you got?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, he's not in that many, really. Uncut Gems has got to be my favorite. I mean, you already mentioned Punch Drunk Love too, but I feel like that's the other obvious two. What other serious roles do you have? Like that one with cancer, Funny People. I don't really like him in that.
You're not a big hustle guy, surprisingly, right?
Oh yeah, no, that is true. I don't love
All right.
Hustle that much. He's good in that, but he's kind of just playing himself too. That's not like crazy character.
The Meyerowitz Stories is definitely a funny role, but like it's it's a more dramatic movie.
Hmm.
He's doing a funny-ish performance,
All right,
but I
I
like
haven't seen
that.
that.
He's really just kind of playing himself a little bit. And then,
He's good at that.
Punch Drunk Love is the obvious for sure.
Yeah. Which one do you think is better, Punch Drunk or Uncut Gems?
I
You
think
don't
Punch
like it.
Drunk Love is
Yeah, you
is a
don't
better
like
movie
Uncut
for sure.
Gems.
I don't love Punch Drunk Love. Paul Thomas Anderson isn't necessarily my favorite filmmaker, but he's good in that movie. Let's take it way back though to the beginning of Sandler.
Oh,
Welcome back to Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast. This week we're discussing Happy Gilmore.
For 400 years, golf has been a gentleman's game. A game of tradition, etiquette, and above all, sportsmanship. Until now.
Y'all ready for this? Yeah!
Meet Happy Gilmore. He was a hockey player,
That's my puck, baby! Don't you ever touch my puck!
who was skating on thin ice. But when his grandma needed his help,
Mrs. Gilmore owes the IRS $270,000. We're gonna have to sell the house to someone else.
But she's an old lady. I mean, look at her. She's old.
he discovered a new talent.
The house is like 400 yards away. That's unbelievable.
Now he's going from the rinks
Step right up, folks. See if you can outdrive the amazing golf ball whacker guy.
to the links.
Where you going with those clubs, punk? I'm your caddy.
He's gonna be on the tour. That's super.
He's got the swing. He's got the drive.
He shoots, he scores!
He's got the balls.
Oh, God, that hurt a little, but I'm all right.
It's all in the hips, baby. All in the hips. I'm Korbin, your host, and I'm joined by my gold jacket wearing co-host, Kody Webb. Kody, what's going on, man?
I'm excited to be here. You can definitely count on me this episode. To meet you in the parking lot. I think this is going to be one of my favorite episodes that we do this year. Yeah, I think it's going to be a classic. I'll be throwing out quotes pretty much.
I was going to say it might be the most quoted episode for you, Kody.
I don't know if you've heard, but I'm pretty good with a nail gun, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here, man. Should be fun.
I think long anticipated Happy Gilmore episode for you, Kody. So let's just get into it. Why?
Out of everybody you could have chose, why did you pick me?
Did you want to talk Happy Gilmore this week?
Yeah, I mean, if you've been around, I think maybe I've been teasing it a little bit. This is an episode I've been thinking of doing for a while, and you know, it wasn't Corbin's turn to pick a movie. Better luck next year. But, I mean, for me, this is just like one of my favorite movies of all time. It kind of brings together, excuse me, two genres that I really love, which is sports movies, and then of course just, you know, your 90s comedies.
I was gonna say Sandler movies. Is that the other genre?
That is definitely up there for
Happy Madison Productions, literally.
Yeah, true. He does have his own company, but I mean, we'll get into a ton of the details why, but yeah, like I said, for me, I think this is a top 5 movie of all time, and just one I love watching over and over and over, which is pretty common with some of Sandler stuff. It's maybe honestly the only movie that I've seen more than Grown Ups. I think those are probably my 2 most watched of all time. So that's pretty much the basic reasoning.
And Happy Gilmore 2 has been recently confirmed. So
True.
Topical. And also, I guess this is a good time to mention it. The last time we did a Carl Weathers movie, we had recorded the episode and he unfortunately passed away before, and then like after we had to release it after the fact. And now we get a chance to actually have a conversation and talk about the fact that, you know, he's passed away and reflect on him in this movie, which he's fantastic in. And
Yeah.
I got the background right now repping it.
I do.
I think this is him. I think this is him looking down on us right now.
Yeah. That shot is my favorite shot in the movie as well. So I love your background. But yeah, that was the first thing on my initial thoughts too that I wanted to dive into. I mean, rip Carl Weathers. Like you had said too, I feel like I felt bad, especially when that news came out, because we did the Predator episode, and I was kind of like bad mouthing his character, being like, "Oh, he's an idiot. Oh, he turned on him or whatever." I was like, "Dang, I feel like I'm talking crap about Carl Weathers." But like you said, love that guy. He is one of my favorite things in this movie too. I feel like he's not maybe known for kind of his comedy chops. I feel like more of, you know, action or drama he was in a lot more of. But he's amazing in this. You already knocked out one quote. It's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. Just trying to ease the tension. And then I love just tap it in. Tap it in. He's awesome. And he's not even in the movie that much too. Which is tough. Another thing too is I do watch movies different. I feel like when we're doing an episode of the podcast versus just like watching it in my own free time. Like this watch for me this time around, I was really geared in on like a bunch of the filmmaking stuff, like the script, which is not usually something I care about. So there's probably gonna be a lot of nitpicks here. But also, I mean, Rip Chubbs in this movie. Korbin, what's up with this massive window, bro? That's got to be a safety hazard, right? Like, what are we doing in Sandman?
If that happened, would you be legally liable? Like, is that murder?
I mean,
manslaughter at manslaughter, right?
Involuntary, right? Yeah, it's got to be some sort of charge for sure, I think.
As someone who is not a lawyer, I came to the conclusion that you would not be legally liable, but possibly civilly liable. Maybe, you
Mm.
have to pay for, any damages to his family or something like that,
Yeah, sure.
For
I mean,
scaring him out the window with the gator head. It's kind of his fault.
Yeah, it's a tough way to go. I mean, it's really ironic too that it's the Gatorhead who kind of, finally takes him out. So kind of a cool unraveling story. And of course, in your picture too, they do kind of meet up and it looks like bro down in heaven. So I love that. But
Little, Moby
yeah,
Dick, baby.
but in general, I mean, like you said, Rip Carl Weathers, great actor, great guy, and I'm glad we get to talk about him a little bit more today.
Cody, do you remember the first time you ever watched Happy Gilmore? Was it growing up as a wee lad?
Yeah, so I don't have an exact date on this one. It's definitely in my formative years. I would think I'm trying to I think that we did have a DVD copy of this, which is surprising for my mom. But if not, I probably just caught it on TV around the age of like 12 or 13, I would think. But yeah, I mean, it just one that connected with me instantly. Obviously, too, when you're a kid, you don't kind of get all the jokes and stuff the first time around. But definitely a movie I'm very, very nostalgic for. Do you remember your first time watching this?
Well, I did not watch this movie ever growing up. It is notably PG-13, not
Yeah.
R. So I definitely could have watched it. But I don't know. We weren't big Sandler or even really ever SNL people in my house. So like this would not be the first thing I would always go to. And also obviously came out in 1996, so before I was born.
Yeah, we weren't
Before
really
you were
alive,
born.
but yeah.
But the very first time I watched it, shout out to Letterboxd, Cody, was 2 years ago today.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Anniversary.
So we've got that. I didn't even I pulled that up today just to look. I was like, when was the first time I watched it? Because I know I logged it, and it was 2 years ago today. I first broke out the Happy Gilmore and did a second watch for this viewing today, and I do enjoy this movie, and I'm excited to get more into it.
Oh yeah, love it.
Initial thoughts,
I'm too damn bad if you don't like my initial clinical reaction.
Cody. I will say, like, not being an Adam Sandler comedy fan, or I guess really even an Adam Sandler drama fan, as we've gotten into on the Uncut Gems podcast, this to me is like the above average version of it. Like, this is obviously it's an early version of it, but like the quality's there. I feel like there's a lot of heart and effort and care, and like it's less into the like we're pumping out comedies with my friends stage. Like, this is still just like an up and coming guy trying to make it. He wrote this with his friend, it's very much built on his power. And yeah, you've got Carl Weathers and a lot of fun supporting performances, but it's so much about him. And while I saw it later, so I probably don't have that same like childhood love that you do. I still appreciated it when I watched it, and I didn't think it had aged poorly. And I think it's a really great sports movie as well. Like you said, it's a combination of comedy and sports. And I am not a golf fan or necessarily really a hockey fan either, but I can appreciate knowing those worlds, like seeing the fun culture clash that happens in this movie, and it causes a lot of comedy for good reason. So
Yeah.
I think this is a very solid version of what Sandler has done over the last 30 years now.
Yeah, I think this is Sandler's comedy peak, if I'm being completely honest. I think the really cool thing about it too is like this movie is not surrounded by your typical kind of Sandler cast. It's actually kind of different people than I feel like you would normally work with on a consistent basis, and it kind of just it brings a different flavor than a lot of his movies, just because it's usually just like one note of him doing the same jokes over and over. Like you said too, like this is on Sandler's back. I mean, I think he's got to be in pretty much every single scene other than a few in with Grandma and Ben Stiller, which is peak comedy as well. But yeah, I mean, as far as Sandler comedies go, this is by far my favorite. I think by far just his best in general. And like you said, I mean, just this character, I feel like he embodies so well too. It is definitely kind of him playing himself, which we've said a few times, and he seems to do that a lot. But like you said, I think they're really fun kind of sports blend in between hockey and golf here is like two sports that are almost complete opposites. Obviously, hockey unbelievably physical, and then golf is this elegant game that you're supposed to show respect and stuff.
Dress
So,
up, pay your money to be a part of the club.
yeah. So kind of genre blending sports in a sports movie is cool. And then just this character too I mean his setup in like the first 5 minutes is really fun too. 'Cause you know exactly who he is. He went through some stuff as a kid, like his dad died of a stupid reason, of course, because it's a comedy movie, and then he had to go live with his grandma. And he's been trying to be good at hockey because his dad loved it his whole life, but he's just completely terrible and can't kind of get past this in his life. So it's a really cool spot to kind of have the character start out at as well. And then from there it kind of gets more crazy and stupid, which I love. But I'm going to talk about this movie a lot, but like I said, for comedy, this is easily probably my favorite comedy of all time.
Yeah, it's just a well-written like fish out of water story, right? You put the hockey guy in the golf world and see what happens, and hijinks ensue. And when you bring in Bob Barker to fist fight him, and you bring in Carl Weathers for a heat check at the beginning and the end, and of course you just have the all-time heel, like probably one of the great movie villains. I know it's silly to say, but like Shooter McGavin has really stayed true in popular culture, and especially when it comes to like sports movie villains, he brings the fucking hateability, the vileness, and also just that golf swagger.
Yeah, I think he has to come back for the sequel. Obviously, Carl Weathers would not. I mean, I would want him back too, but obviously not going to happen with that.
And he wouldn't have come. Canonically, he's dead.
I guess he did die. Yeah, we could make a rewrite, but I think Shooter McGavin, if he's not in the sequel, I think we riot because, like you said, I mean, he he fits that just dickhead villain so well. He's probably one of the best comedy villains of all time, and like I said, movie villain. I think I would put him up there too. But yeah, Mr. McDonald, I don't think he's in too much because I think maybe he got stuck in this role. Well, it's almost like a George Costanza, Jason Alexander thing where everybody just sees you as Shooter McGavin. You can't really do anything else because you've been so good at one character.
Yeah, and then it was the thing where he's like, he'd been playing some villains at the time, and he was like, I don't really want to do this role because I feel like I'm starting to get typecast. And then he does this, and he's forever Shooter McGavin. Like I really do think it. Now he's gone out and been in a ton of shit, but like never a big leading performance that maybe he might have had had he not been Shooter.
Hey, maybe it'll still come. Who knows?
The Happy Gilmore swing, Kody. I may not have seen this movie growing up, but that had a lasting legacy on me as a child, as a baseball player. You break that out, a little pregame drill. It's all in the hips, man.
It's iconic, man. Yeah, I feel like there's certain things in this movie that kind of transcend even this movie, which is really, really cool. Even the name like Happy Gilmore, I feel like in concept is so stupid. Like I don't even really like his name, but and his golf stance is really dumb. Like in theory, it makes no sense. But you can't tell me you've never tried to do the Happy Gilmore. Like I feel like everybody who sees this movie has to go out there and try and swing like that and look like an idiot, but it's still fun doing it.
So the story of this movie goes that Sandler knew a kid growing up who was good at hockey, and then also like they went and played golf like one time, and he could hit the shit out of the ball.
Yeah. And
I think maybe he did the Happy Gilmore thing or not, but regardless, like it was 10 days before filming, he calls up Dennis Dugan, the director of this movie, and he's like, at like 6 a.m., he's like, meet me outside. Like, we're going to the driving range. And then he like broke out the like full Happy Gilmore film. And Dennis Dugan was like, he was just hitting the shit out of the ball. And like, it sounded so good. And I was like, we knew we had it. And like, that was when it was all going to be okay. When that moment happened, it was going to be believable that Sandler, who's a guy who does not play hockey or play golf in real life, would be believable in this role.
I mean, shout out to him. He is sneaky athletic, I guess. He's got the basketball skills and grown-ups. He's got
like
the
you,
golf
Kody.
swing. Yeah, true. I'm definitely more athletic. But I mean, props to him. That swing, like we're saying, is not easy. And I think a lot of the time he was at least hitting those balls a good deal. Obviously, not 400 feet consistently, well, or whatever it was. But the Sandman's a little athletic. I mean, he loves, hustle. He loves basketball movies and stuff. He's just a big sports guy, even Uncut Gems, obviously, too. So it definitely kind of goes with his normal shtick as well.
Are you familiar with the Indiana high school golfer, Happy Gilmore?
I think I'm fairly familiar, but not a ton.
So there's this kid. I mean, his real name is Landon Gilmore, just for the record. Okay. But he's currently a high school senior who is committed to golf at Ball State University.
Oh,
but
wow.
He goes by Happy Gilmore because, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, he won a long drive competition. And then everyone was like, oh, he's Happy Gilmore. And then It was a big deal, I think, like a year ago when he committed, and everyone's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, Happy Gilmore, the golfer, he's committed to play D1 golf." And I think Sandler gave him a shout out on Twitter and everything. Even
Have to. Of course, you know all the Ball State news as well. Drifter, but
it's that Muncie newspaper, man. I stay up on the
true.
weekend, read my Garfield comics.
I
So.
wanna, yeah, big Garfield guy too. I want to see Happy Gilmore in the pros. Give me a Tiger Woods, Happy Gilmore kind of group, and that'll probably be the best day of my life. So I love that. Shout out Happy, come on the pod.
I mean, he did it to himself, I guess. But like, I was reading an article where it's just like the article kind of writes itself, right? The sports writer, it's like, yeah, he didn't play too well, but don't worry, he didn't break any rakes and toss him into the woods. Like, it's okay, Happy, like, shit like that. It's like, at some point the shtick has to be dropped, right? Like, he's already getting this. He's a high school senior. He's not even playing Division I golf. Like, is it gonna? Whatever. I'm happy for him. Shout out to him. Looking forward to his career. It's never gonna end. Roll credits, Kody.
Say that again.
It's fantastic.
Yes, it is. Guys, I got it.
Let's talk about it. Dennis Dugan, you're a big fan, right?
Yeah. I guess. I mean, I feel like for Sandler directors, for comedy wise, he's up there. Obviously, he did Grown Ups as well. I feel like he's not the best director, if we're being completely honest. He's also in this movie too. I don't know if you knew this, Corbin, but he is he's the main guy of the golf. He's a PGA head guy who's, making the suspensions, is making all the decisions, which honestly I did not know until watching this time. So shout out to Dennis Dugan. But yeah, I don't know. He's definitely mid in my eyes, but I think this is definitely his best work.
Also, of course, director of Benchwarmers, another movie we've done. Director of Grown Ups, another movie we've done. We're big Dennis Dugan heads on this podcast. Think about that. There's not many directors that we can throw up there on the Three Timers Club. You got your Denis Villeneuve's, your Christopher Nolan's, and your Dennis Dugans, man.
Is there anybody else?
That might be elite company. I mean, 2 Linklaters we've done. I don't know, man.
No, we never did Wolf of Wall Street.
It's hard.
Spielberg, we haven't done that many either. No. Shout out Dennis Dugan. This is a Dennis Dugan sponsored podcast. So yeah, I hope to see some sponsorship soon. Shout out Subway. But we're on the Dugan train, I guess.
This movie was their first collaboration ever. Yeah. It's really like Sandler's second solo movie after Billy Madison, right?
Yeah.
And the big thing that, they always say in this industry, okay, Sandler, you're working on Billy Madison right now. You're making it. It's going to come out. You need to figure out what your next project is. You always have to know what the next thing is, because you get that set up while you're making this. It doesn't matter what happens with this. This can bomb. This can be, you've already got that other thing set up. You know what you're doing next. So the idea was to do Happy Gilmore. He and his friend obviously wrote the scripts at Sandler, and then they met with Dennis Dugan. And funnily enough, Dugan had tried to cast Sandler in a movie a few years before that. And the studio was like, this guy's not a movie star. He'll never make it. He's not your guy. And Dugan was like, no, I think this guy has it. And then finally they got to have this meeting after, Sandler becomes a little bit more of a star on SNL, and it has Madison set up. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. I'm in all the way. And after that first meeting, he was going to be the director of this movie. And I do think his comedy works with the Sandler world. They're a good duo. They make sense together.
Oh, 100%. Because I think Dennis Dugan, I mean, especially from Benchwarmers and Grown Ups, he directs physical comedy, I think, pretty well. Maybe there's some writing stuff that isn't the strongest part of his movies. But I mean, specifically in this movie, Sandler fighting people, which is constant, Sandler getting hit by cars, Sandler destroying clowns on golf courses. I feel like all the physical stuff hits. And then maybe for me, I think this is maybe his best script. I don't know if he had a writing credit specifically either, but I think there aren't too many jokes in this that kind of miss, which I feel like is kind of rare for a Dugan project.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's a Sandler, and I want to say his name, Tim Terlehy. Do you know? It's Sandler's frequent co-collaborator, childhood best friend. They co-wrote the script together.
Gotcha.
They worked together at SNL. And then also Judd Apatow is uncredited with rewrites of the script. So he came in and did some punch-up work as well, which is classic.
Yeah. Shout out to Judd. I feel like he does that a lot too, where he comes in and maybe he's uncredited, but especially a lot of the early 90s, 2000 stuff, he's all over the place. shut up, Mr. Apatow.
Another thing for roll credits. Shout out to Carl Weathers for getting the "and" in this movie. Of course, like I said, he's not in it a lot, so it makes sense. I wish he was honestly just second build. Like I kind of would like to see that movie, maybe.
True. I wish he was kind of his trainer the entire time. I mean, I don't know. There's really no reason why he's not. It's kind of just like he wants him to train for 6 months before going pro. But then if Sandler's just like, nah, like I'm trying to get my grandma's house. Yeah, he would have been like, oh, I'll still be your mentor or whatever. So pretty easy right in there. But less is more, I guess. And the less that Danny's in is pretty awesome in here. So I think they did it all right. I mean, the only thing I wanted to touch on is did they say the title of the movie, which this may be the quickest one they've ever done, because I think pretty much the first line of the movie is, hey, I'm Happy Gilmore. So he introduces himself. It's a nice roll credits when the opening credits are going as well, which I think is unique. And I just like the opening credits in general a lot too. Yes. Kind of just like the childhood footage of him growing up. They go through his backstory super quick, so you kind of understand exactly who he is with that first hockey scene and kind of how crazy and just like he's committed, I guess. He once he puts his head to something. Yeah, that's a good word. Once he decides something, he's going to go after it, which I think is a good thing to establish. So I just like the opening a lot.
Yeah, no, I had that written down as well. I really like the opening of the movie. It's got the like 8mm film thing kind of it's doing. Yeah. Good narration from Sandler. He's given a fun voiceover performance. And then the ending as well. The end title card. Shout out to that. Love to see that.
Little freeze frame and then the end. Yeah. I'm going to be on board with that too. So yeah.
Always a fan. We could have gotten a little that's all, folks, but we'll
that might have been pushing it.
Save it for the good, the bad, the ugly, which is where we are right now, Kody. So much good, so little time. What do you got for us? What's the good stuff, Kody?
I got a lot, so I'm excited. My first one, I already mentioned him too, which is weird that one of my favorite things about this movie is Ben Stiller. I think this might be my favorite comedy performance from him, and he's in a lot of good stuff. But it's kind of the same thing with Carl Weathers too, where he's not in the movie a ton. He's probably in it maybe 10 minutes tops. Probably
uncredited in this movie.
I know, which is crazy because I mean he's definitely recognizable. I think that's done on purpose. But I mean, first off, he's got one of the best handlebar mustaches I've ever seen. So shout out to that facial hair game.
Beautiful.
And this is pretty consistent with the entire movie, but he's so quotable. Here's a couple of my favorites. You're in my world now, Grandma. Classic. Just really intimidating off the bat, really intense. And then I think my favorite one is when it's arts and crafts time and they're making quilts, he's trying to sell it off. He's saying, this is some high quality shit. Like,
if you'd stop yapping your trap for a second, I could tell you. The price is $200 per quilt. Yeah, well, this is handmade quality shit we're talking here. Yes, well, when do you need them by? All right. Good doing business with you. Okay, listen up, everybody. Turn up your volumes. Announcement. I got good news. We're extending arts and crafts time by 4 hours today.
My fingers hurt.
What's that?
My fingers hurt.
Oh, well, now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. Anybody else's fingers hurt? I didn't think so.
Well, it looks like your back's gonna be hurting because you just pulled landscaping duty. He's a complete dick to old people at all times. He's given the cutting off the neck symbol to Happy's grandma specifically. Just so memorable and kind of just so out of pocket. I think it's really, really hilarious.
He's up there with Nurse Ratched as just some of the worst medical professionals you've seen on screen. And it is so fun that it is Ben Stiller, like a guy who, again, got to just go on and have a really great career. Yeah. But he did this, uncredited. I think his name tag says like his name is like Hal L or something like that. But just a incredible performance and incredible facial hair.
Oh, true. I mean, that mustache is up there with all time, I think. So shout out to him. I'll go and touch on another one too, because we talked about it a little already, but I mean, Shooter McGavin, this guy is unbelievable. I think the thing that I really like too is like all of his specific interactions with Happy. Every time like they come together and have a conversation, it always ends in like the weirdest way possible and like super awkward. So one of their first ones is Of course, he tells him to go out on the green after Happy gives him a hard time when they meet. And then when he comes back, he he smashes a beer bottle. He's ready to beat him up pretty good. And then that one ends with Christopher McDonald doing like a Dr. Seuss rhyme because he's so nervous. So I love that. And then the capper at the end too, right when they're fighting over who's playing for Chubbs.
To hell with that. I'm playing for Chubbs.
Nuh-uh. I called it first.
Hey. You want to beat him? Beat him on the course.
That's right. I'm gonna beat your ass on the course.
Yeah, right. Grizzly Adams had a beard.
Grizzly Adams did have a beard.
And I think that's a great line. And also the one in between where he's talking about how he eats pieces of shit for breakfast. I think
I
it's
eat
an
pieces of
all-timer.
shit like you for breakfast. You eat shit for breakfast?
Yeah.
No.
No. It's just always like the most awkward encounter. And I feel like just like script-wise one-on-one interactions, like Happy and Shooter were by far my favorite.
The way they can play off each other is really unmatched. And every chance they get to have head to head on screen is great.
Just like the cockiness of Shooter too, like all of his celebrations, you got the guns, he's strutting around. Even when, people are like heckling him and stuff, he's shooting right back at him. He's hitting the bouncy balls on the golf course, but he's still good at golf. Like this guy, he is at an elite level, and he's not going to get that jacket though. But yeah, I think just iconic wise and kind of fun wise, Christian McDonald is absolutely amazing.
And he's unlikable in the best way. Like
he's so hateable.
There's no reason to want to root for him, or he's not even like, oh yeah, like I'm on his side. Like he's just an asshole.
Yeah.
But it works in the movie extremely well. I think the supporting cast as a whole, like I really don't think there's many holes in it, whether it's like Julie Bowen or Francis Bay playing his grandma. Like that's a fun old lady performance. Yeah, it's all great. Ben Stiller and obviously Christopher McDonald are the highlights though in Weathers.
Yeah. I agree. I love Julie Bowen. I think she is underrated in general, and probably just I'm very biased about this movie, obviously. But even like all the little one-off characters, the one guy who runs over Happy with his car, the jackass guy, I really love. Even the scene at the beginning with one of the golfers where he's talking about like aura and super zen and stuff, and then Happy beats him up. There's just so many.
Mr.
Like I said,
Larson, man, the
Mr.
old
Larson,
dude.
the guy who just randomly shows up when Happy does something really bad and just shakes his head, all disappointed at him. The list goes on and on and on, but yeah, all the
Bob
side
Barker.
characters, and that's what I was going to bring up next. So I love that intro, but I don't want a piece of you. I want the whole damn thing. This Bob Barker fight is probably my favorite scene in the movie. If I'm being completely honest, it's got to be up there for me. And I think genuinely too, like I said, like watching this movie, I was kind of watching it differently this time. But I think it's like generally like pretty good choreography. Like it's a pretty good fight. It reminds me of like some serious action stuff. Maybe a little John Wicky. Maybe that's a bit too far to say that. But it's like good kind of stunts. I think Bob and Sandman did the majority of their stunts too. Stunts. I can't say stumps, that too. They didn't do all of them. Obviously, they didn't like roll down the hill. And then Sandman, of course, goes with the headbutt and gives us the iconic line, "The price is wrong, bitch." And then, yeah, of course, Bob Barker comes back from the dead, puts him in a nice little chokehold, then kicks him to the moon, basically. I think you've had enough. Now you've had enough, bitch. I mean, Bob Barker, he's not even in any other movies. He's in How I Met Your Mother a little bit, obviously, which is a great role.
Nice dad.
Yeah. I wish he was in more stuff because I think he's really awesome in this.
IMDb trivia isn't always the most trustworthy source, but there's some fun Bob Barker tidbits in there of like he didn't want to take the role unless he was actually going to get to do the fight and like kick
That's
Sandler's ass. And like you said, they did do a lot of the stunts themselves. And believe it or not, The Price is Right. With college-aged people in the 90s, the ratings through the roof post Happy Gilmore. Everyone was tuning in for Barker.
That's awesome. So it's a great publicity stunt for him as well, which is the old 2-for-1. But yeah, that was really awesome. He did all the stunts and kind of wanted to do that, just get on board. Love that guy. I think RIP to him too. Has he passed on?
I think recently passed away.
Yeah, I mean he was old.
2023.
He was kind of old with this movie.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that he made it this long is
born in
pretty awesome.
1923. He was 100 or 99 when he died.
Dang. Shout out to Bobby. But yeah, love that scene. I have a couple other any other good you wanted to shout out here though?
Oh yeah, I got a couple things. Just talking about Sandler's performance some more. Like, I think the thing that it specifically does so well is that rage. It's that anger that seeps underneath Sandler at all times. But the great thing about him is he can be such an angry man and still be the hero and still be lovable and still be like the guy you want to root for. And that is the movie star quality that he has. And whether it's like the Uncut Gems end of that spectrum, where he's the angry guy who's a little bit sleazy, or here he's the angry guy who's like described as the colorful and more emotional working class hero of the people. Like, I think he just can play on that spectrum so effectively well. And when the movie is calling for that out of his movie star persona, it's going to be working way better than stuff like Spaceman, unfortunately.
True. I agree with you completely. I think in this movie, I mean, he's a man of the people. He's so lovable, but he does have obvious flaws, like you said too. I mean, he's an absolute crazy person. Like,
pull over the shirt, smack it, punch him in the face. Like, could be the move, but also, come on, Sandler, chill out.
I mean, in the first half hour, he's fighting somebody every 10 minutes, basically. So you would think, in theory, like just looking at the script, like maybe this character would be a little bit unlikable. But like, I mean, just the charm and, like you said, the movie star quality of the Sandman, I think he brings those two together and kind of makes something gold out of it. So I definitely agree with that. And kind of going into another thing I want to talk about too, which is I think maybe my favorite Sandler scene. It's actually at the very beginning when he figures out that, hey, he actually might be good at golf. And these two mover guys are obviously moving out, his grandma's stuff. And they find some old clubs and they decide to make a bet. And for some reason, just like this, the whole setup and the delivery kills me with this every time. So he smacks the first golf ball, hits these people's house. They're like, oh, no way you can do it again. So on the double or nothing, the guy whose house he's stuck walks outside and he hits him in the head with the golf ball. And another one of my favorite quotes of all time. Hey, you hit that guy. He shouldn't have been standing there. It's just like, I think that shows too the dichotomy of like Sandler, like even though he's doing kind of, not great stuff on paper, he has that delivery to still kind of make it funny. And then he sticks the wife out of the window too, which is even funnier. So
does what to her?
Sticks her with a golf ball. Need to specify. Yeah, like even though that scene is like really early on and kind of doesn't have that much stakes, that's still one of my favorite deliveries of the whole movie.
And of course, like when your character is being like has a grandma who's being kicked out of her house by the IRS, like that's extremely sympathetic writing.
I mean,
so
he's had a tough life. Yeah. I mean, his dad died really young. He had to live with his grandma. Now his grandma's getting kicked out of her home, or, his childhood home. So you definitely feel for the guy too.
Any golf scene where the ball is flying through the air, I actually love. Like, I think that it all looks really good. Obviously, the Happy Gilmore swing, as we've stated, is so iconic, and that has to work and be effective. But also, the second it takes off and you get your fake, POV of the golf ball shot, like that has to be effective too. And I think it really works, and it's one of the highlights of this movie for me.
I think the sound effects, the sound team did a really good job on that too, of making it believable that he's hitting this ball like 400 feet. It like that really cool snap when he smacks it. And like, I mean, maybe Challengers took a little bit of camera work movement from this movie with the whole POV of the ball. But I think everything golf wise, I think is definitely on point here too. So I agree.
I was going to say, I hope Happy Gilmore 2 takes a lot from Challengers.
Yeah, hopefully Zendaya.
With the way it shoots the golf, of course.
We can have some other similarities too, and I'm on board. But the other big thing I want to mention too, I think it's underrated in this flick. I think it's got a great soundtrack. I'll just rattle off a few, but I feel like the most iconic one is "Jump Around." When I hear that song, I always think of this movie. You got "It's Magic," "It's Magic," That's pretty good. And then "Carry On, My Wayward Son." Do I love that song? And then you got a little Lionel Richie, little love song in there too. So I think it's a good mix and an underrated track for sure.
Music's solid, what they could get for the budget. Not gonna say it's a classic.
Come on, it's magic, bro. I just sang that. You got to give me props.
Golf is fun. You know what's more fun than golf, Kody? Mini golf. And
True.
At the end of this movie, it proves that is the superior sport, because that's all it takes to win the tour. If you can Rube Goldberg your way out of it with a little mini golf action, you're gonna win. and I love that.
Uh-oh. Happy learned how to putt. I think that mini golf scene, that was another thing on my list too, is it's just comedy gold. Like obviously you could throw Carl Weathers and Sandler in pretty much any scene. Another one of my favorites too is the one at the beginning, of course, in the batting cages, where Sandler's just taking baseballs to the face to toughen up. But yeah, the mini golf scene, him freaking out on the clown, definitely one of my favorites in the film too.
Let's jump over to the bad, Cody. We've already said it a couple times, so I'll just reiterate it again. There's not enough Carl Weathers. Like, we need more chubs. I get why, like, story-wise, things would probably just be a lot simpler if he had a coach. He would be a better golfer, and like he needs to say no to him. But it sucks that he's not just like around a little bit more. He could have kind of had a presence still in the movie.
Their chemistry is so good too. Yeah, just cutting it off kind of cold turkey until the very end there's definitely a massive gap. I feel like his interactions with Shooter and the rest of the guys would have been a lot different throughout if Carl was, in his back shoulder. So I definitely agree with that.
And the death is so dumb.
It's funny though, and it's ironic, but it's dumb. Yeah, and that's kind of the most of my stuff too. I mean, it's whatever I go here, it's going to be a lot of nitpicks. But the first one I do genuinely like dislike a little bit. It's kind of just like the opening of Happy Gilmore's character, kind of where he's at. So the movie starts with, I like the opening hockey scene, but after that he's walking home, and for some reason his girlfriend is just dumping him. Like out of all the days of the year, maybe she heard news from the tryouts that he didn't make the team or something, but she's walking out, which I think is dumb.
And everything with his ex-girlfriend is bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Like everything with that scene is my least favorite scene. Like he's like licking the comm, trying to talk to her and stuff. And then like the grandma comes up at the end, and that's like the big kicker joke, is she stayed the night and everything.
Yeah, sex, yeah.
Yeah, like that's one of my least favorite jokes, I think, in the entire movie. So kind of a weak opening there, I would say. Another nitpicky thing too, which is kind of the entire movie, but I don't really understand how his grandma didn't pay $270,000 of back taxes over 10 years. So if we're thinking logically here, like Graham, she's got to be on Social Security, right? So she's getting, what do you mean? She's getting her benefits. She's like 90 years old. And if she's doing that, she doesn't even have to file her taxes. So I don't know what's going on.
There's something called property tax.
Yeah, and I looked it up. So her property taxes back in the 90s, I don't even know. I didn't even look up where this was set. I assume near Boston, because he's wearing a bunch of Boston stuff. So I just looked in that city specifically. So it's probably even more bloated. But yeah, 270 over 10 years. I don't think we're coming anywhere near that. So shout out to the IRS. I think they pulled a hit job here, but the numbers just don't add up. So yeah, if you need any help with your finances, Mrs. Gilmore, I'm here to help you.
Well, it's all the lemonade stands she's been running. She hasn't been paying taxes on that.
Yeah, self-employed business actually. Yeah, that's a massive nitpick, obviously. Any other bad you want to touch on? I do have one other.
I don't like the happy place. I don't like when Happy goes to his happy place. There's a lot going on there, and I don't even really. Maybe we could get into the ugly with that, but there's some weird stuff happening in the happy place, and you could probably just remove that.
I think name-wise, it's a kind of fun gag, I guess. Yeah, when we're actually there, it's a
dark place for me personally.
Yeah. I mean, the first one, it's just vision. It's like weird visions for the good too. It's like, of course, Julie Bowen, that makes sense. But then his grandma is like getting gold coins out of some machine, which makes no sense. And then it's just like a little person riding on a unicycle or something. It's kind of just like weird weird out of pocket. And then like when he goes there again, but he's not actually in his happy place, it's like Shooter takes it over. It's like a really crazy, like really freaky, messed up dream that I would never want to see or never have again. I do back that, and it kind of does play into my last bad here as well. That's kind of in the middle. So my main point is we're in the final stretch here. It's Shooter versus Happy for the championship here. How does a rogue Volkswagen get on the course and hit Happy Gilmore, your star golf player? How do you get on the course, Korbin? We have to know this because it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's really strange because, nowadays, if you're like an actual golfer who's supposed to like be on the PGA Tour, I think you can get arrested. So the security has gotten tighter in the last 30 years. You got to watch out, but
it's a good reference. Actually,
I don't know if Volkswagens would make it through. It's strange.
Shout out to the bugs. And then, I mean, he sticks him pretty hard. I mean, my other big bad is how does he win the match or whatever it's called
After
getting hit by a
Volkswagen.
car?
I mean, maybe it's German small engineering. It's quite literally a slug bug, but
it's compact car.
The engine's on the other side, so I guess
it's true. But the thing too, it's funny because what heals him really is that vision of Chubbs. I feel like that is him going back to his happy place, and it's just like Chubbs serenading him on the piano. It's kind of what healed
all
him.
white.
Yeah,
looking hell, but
yeah, it looks great. But I don't know how that really heals you after getting hit by a car. And I was going to mention too, I mean, this is not really bad, but it really plays into your background too of, I think, a perfect ending of just so weird, but still really cool at the same time, like Chubbs and the Gator having that interaction. But then there's like randomly throwing in Abe Lincoln. It's just so stupid. But I think it's just like the perfect ending for this movie. So
good and bad to it, I think.
Yeah.
Is taking the girl you like, if you're a hockey and or figure skater, to the ice rink to skate, like too on the nose, too like it's the oldest trick in the book. They do it all the time. Like it always happens. What did this movie start it? Like I don't know.
I wouldn't think it started it, but maybe it's in the prime days. Yeah, it's pretty cliche. But I mean, he's got to hook up with a Zamboni guy, so he's got a good deal with it. You might as well, run its course with that. But pretty cliche. I don't know how it worked.
He's definitely got the most romantic of setups, but I guess he probably tried it once on his current ex-girlfriend.
True. I mean, it shouldn't work. It shouldn't have worked because it's so cliche. And then also she makes the shot from like the halfway line, and somehow he still gets the girl. So I guess that's the Sandler charm, but he really messed that up on a couple counts, I think.
Throwing it over to the ugly, continuing on with the ex-girlfriend stuff, especially the parts where he's just like, yeah, she's dead. She fell off a cliff. Like he's just telling everyone that his ex-girlfriend died. Like that's pretty fucked up. I don't know. I got a long list of ugly stuff here for this.
Yeah,
one.
I have a couple. We can just bounce back and forth. I have a few. I mean, there's just a lot of jokes that are a little bit dated. I mean, this is the '90s, and the first one that I don't really love is they keep making fun of like Chubbs's hand. Just like making people who are, have physical, problems with their bodies. Like,
and then they fucking fight the alligator. Animal abuse, Cody. It does. It just like, where does it stop? It never fucking ends.
He's punching. The way he defeats the alligator,
murders an alligator.
He punches the alligator. I don't think that'll work in real life, but fair enough.
Do you think the fucking gator chose to have a golf course built over its home? No, it probably did not. So if you hit a golf ball into its mouth, let it go.
That is true. I mean, well, the thing with Happy is I think he only has one ball, so he's really connected to it. But yeah, I did look up the gator's name too. Where did it go? It's Morris. That was his real name. I couldn't
like the actor, the gator actor. You mean okay? The performer.
He's uncredited in a lot of stuff. Yeah, I'm assuming he's passed as well. So RIP.
Has he been in other things?
Just your local zoo. That's probably it. But I would assume not. I think this is his starring in
Wasn't
iconic
in The Shallows. What was that movie? Is that the one?
Oh yeah, I think there is an alligator in
Blake Lively.
What about Pearl? Maybe he's that gator. We don't get a good look at that gator actually.
I really like alligator. I was really into alligators as a child, Cody. I don't know.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, the alligator guy.
Well, the thing is, alligators underwater. I mean, you have no shot. Like once Happy.
Oh yeah,
once he dives in there with the gator. I mean, he's done. Like this movie's over. Yeah.
The movie I was thinking of was Crawl. That's the alligator.
That is right. Yeah, that was where the house was flooded and everything started coming in and stuff. Yeah, I don't like that movie. But yeah, another ugly too. I mean, we've been talking about Shooter McGavin. I mean, he's mad sexist. I mean, his relationship with Julie Bowen is pretty disrespectful.
The first time he sees her, he just says, "Give me a Pepsi." Actually, give me a diet. Yeah, that's tough. That's real bad.
Not great.
I mean, hey, villain shit, right?
Yeah. So he's hateable, I guess, but not great. So that's definitely another big one.
The scene when, I guess it happens twice, when he gets like really mad and just starts dropping language left and right. Like it feels like there's some slurs in there. Like there's a lot of bleeps, and it gets pretty dark. I'll say that.
We need the full script. I do really like that too, where it's the scene where Julie Bowen is trying to convince the president guy to, let him keep playing because he's such a good publicity stunt. And the entire time she's trying to make this argument, it's just nonstop bleeps in the background. I think that's where he's beating up the Zen guy, just religiously after he gave him bad advice, I guess. But yeah, pretty ugly. I think the full script would reveal, some not so nice words there. So I think I agree. And then another one of mine too. Kind of, they're just making some jokes at the expense of the homeless, which I don't really agree with. Of course, his caddy is kind of who I'm talking about. I kind of nicknamed like him Hobo Caddy, which I don't know if that's mean or not. But
You might be playing into the trap right there yourself.
yeah,
Cody.
I think I'm ugly. We already knew that. But I have a question for you too. Do you prefer Hobo Caddy or the blonde kid caddy? Which one do you think's better?
Blonde kid showed promise, but you needed a veteran in the locker room, and obviously you need to bring in the uncredited cave. I think of him as caveman, kind of. That's the vibe I get.
He does look like the Geico guy, really.
Yeah. Hey, don't spoil my recasting yet, Cody. But I think they're both pretty awful caddies. Also, just like at no point, it would like the very first time Sandler his first golfing experience, no one tells him the rules. They're just like, go play. Like you would think someone would be like, hey, like you can't do this. You got like this is how golf works. But he's just out there fucking doing whatever.
Well, that's what Chubb should have been there for, really. He was just more of a mental state guy, I guess. But I feel bad for the blonde kid caddy because he kind of got thrown around just for trying to carry his golf clubs. But yeah, I mean, also the job of a caddy, I don't know if this movie's aware of it, is to like, give tips on golf and like tell him what to do and stuff. So he didn't really have any of that, and he still kind of won the championship, which is impressive.
Would you be a caddy, Cody? Would you caddy for me?
I would not be a caddy. I don't know much about golf, if I'm being honest. So I'd probably be shooter's caddy at the beginning, where he told him to use a 5-iron when he used a wedge to get on the green, which doesn't make any sense really. But I'd probably do something like that and get fired pretty quickly.
Yeah, I always see those videos where it's like, this fan got to be the caddy for a hole because I think there was just something like that just happened. It's like, oh, congrats, you got to fucking carry a golf clubs like a bitch. Like what? I don't know. Not my thing. In October of 2017, Christopher McDonald was arrested for drunk driving. He was driving in the Lake Arrowhead area on a Saturday night when he drove his classic silver Porsche off the highway, taking off a gas meter, and ended up in an embankment. Before cops took him in, pulled the celebrity card telling them, I was in Happy Gilmore. They were not impressed. He was taken to jail nearby where he was kept until he sobered up. So sorry, shooter. You're a drunk driver too.
Looks like he's a bad guy in real life too, but I love
he pulled
the
old I'm Christopher McDonald from Happy Gilmore move.
You don't know who I am? Come on,
McDonald,
I'm Shooter McGavin. Yeah,
McDonald from Happy Gilmore.
I love him pulling that card. I think shout out to him for that. But yeah, don't drink and drive, kids. It's not smart, and definitely deserves something ugly there.
Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Thanks for listening to the episode. You can follow the rest of our happenings over here at Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at KHAP Podcasts, KHAPODCAST. Please follow us on Spotify, give us a rating, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow along for more. And we're back with Welcome to the Academy.
I'm going for the Oscar this year.
Cody, are there any awards you would like to give to this film?
Absolutely. I have a couple that I think are very, very deserved here. And my first one will start off. I think this movie has some of the best product placement of all time.
Eat Fresh.
Eat Fresh. Shout out Ryan Howard. But the Subway product placement, I think, is really cool just from a story perspective, because it really does kind of bail out Happy when he's at his lowest. He just think like he's gotten suspended. Obviously, the whole goal is, he's got to get money to help grandma out. Who's going to help him out? It's Subway. So they're kind of the good guys, and they're helping him out with his grandma. And they make a kick-ass commercial where he's hitting Subway sandwiches in people's mouths. So I think that's definitely up there for me for an all-time product placement.
It was in the time, which I guess was the time before I knew about Subway, when they were cutting it down I wasn't born, where they would like cut the V-cut like through the middle of the sandwich before the hinge that exists now. It was a different world. It was pre-Fogel. It was pre everything, man.
It's like Jimmy John's.
Better days of Subway.
It's definitely different. Yeah, it's weird.
When was the last time you had a Subway sub?
It's been a while. So I grew up and there's a Subway like 10 minutes away. And then the rest of the food, if you wanted to eat out, was like a half hour away. So I've eaten a good deal of Subway in my life, but I think I got sick of it. It's probably been about like 3-4 years since I've had it. Not great.
I feel like I would definitely eat it a lot growing up. I remember my dad would like pick me up from school and we would go over to the baseball field and he would have to like get stuff set up and he'd, buy me a Subway sub, a little 6-inch, have a little ham and cheese. I'm a weird guy though. I go plain, just meat and cheese and bread.
Yeah, you got issues. I'm a big chicken bacon ranch guy. Load up the pickles. But I feel like it's a classic baseball kind of pre-snack.
Oh yeah.
Post-game snack.
It's big time, for the mom who doesn't want to do the cooking for the meal on the bus vibes. But no, I remember one time specifically, he got a foot-long sub, and I had only eaten 6-inch subs prior to that, and the plan was for me to only eat 6 inches of sub, and I ate half of it, and then I was like, I'm gonna have a little bit more of this, so I ate a little bit more, and then I like dropped the sub on the ground. I was like, shit. So then I threw it away, and then he came back and he's like, did you eat all that? And I was like so embarrassed and sad that I dropped a big chunk of it, and so I just said I ate it all. And then my dad was like, oh wow, you really must have been like really hungry, you ate that entire sub like you're a little second grader. That's crazy. I guess now every time you go to Subway you're gonna eat a foot-long sub. And then I became fat, and that's how I got here today, Kody.
Yeah, tough. Well, I don't know how to react to that, but shout out Subway. Yeah, give us sponsorship for that story alone. But yeah, I probably would have done the same thing. You're not going to admit that you dropped a sandwich. I mean, no shot.
This movie should be nominated for Best Sports Movie of 1996, but I don't know if it should win.
What's better?
I did just move on from the Subway thing. I can't like I let
fair.
it all out. I got it off my chest, and we need to move on. Space Jam, Jerry Maguire, also released in 1996. Kind of a tough two to go against for sports movies.
You think Space Jam's better than this?
No. Yeah. I personally like Space Jam better. And then also,
You're
like,
insane. You are
Jerry Maguire
insane.
is a Oscar nominated
serious movie. Yeah. That one's fun. I've actually never seen Jerry Maguire, but
I haven't either, to be honest.
Show me the money. But yeah, I mean, this movie is 10 times better than Space Jam, brother. We won't have to do that as an episode, but the movie doesn't hold up, I don't think, too well.
I'm more of a New Legacy kind of guy.
I haven't seen it. Won't see it.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Sarah Silverman. What other awards this movie's deserving of, Kody?
My other one, which we did touch on a little bit, I think movie-wise, I can't really think of any others off the top of my head, but I think this is the best putt-putt golf course of all time in a movie. And mostly because it's like super, super creative. So the hole specifically, you got, of course, the iconic clown one where he keeps shooting the ball out, which is super fun. But the one that I really like too is like the falling down building one. Like just the engineering and the creativity of that one, I think is super well made. And I don't think I've seen anything else in a movie kind of up to that standard. So I would definitely give it that award as well.
It's very inventive. And like I said, I love a Rube Goldberg machine. And that's basically what happens at the end of this movie. Mina and I went mini golfing a couple weeks ago at a cool basement in New York City where they feed you drinks. And
that's that. I'm a big mini golf guy in general.
Mini golf line. So it's a good time. This movie, is it the worst use of a batting cage ever? I think it might be. I wouldn't recommend it personally.
I think on film it might be the best, but yeah, personally speaking, I would not recommend that.
Do not try it at home.
The kid did try it. The kid tried it. Didn't work out.
He did.
Got to toughen up. 364 days till next year's hockey season, man.
And then this movie won an award, Kody. It was the first winner. Do you know what it was the first winner of?
I don't. What is it?
The very first winner of the MTV Award for Best Fight.
Best Fight. Nice. Okay. That's deserved.
For of course, Bob Barker and Adam Sandler. And it went up against John Travolta and Christian Slater in Broken Arrow, Pierce Brosnan and Famke Janssen in Goldeneye.
Yeah,
and
nice.
Jackie Chan in Rumble in the Bronx.
Nice. I like that Goldeneye fight, but yeah, that is I think an obvious choice. And for an inaugural winner, I mean, no doubter. I think you can't pick anything else other than Bob Barker there.
MTV got it right for once.
Yeah, I wouldn't. They don't do it. They don't do it often, but they did it in '96 for Best Fight. So shout out to them.
Invite, fight, night, Kody.
You gotta be my podcast.
You want to fight, Dickless?
Wow, thanks. My knight in shining armor.
Who do you want to invite on the pod?
We haven't talked about it too much. I'm going to throw our Bowen. I want to have Julie Bowen on the podcast. And I think this version of her too is definitely one of my favorites. feel like, of course, most people probably know her from just like Modern Family, and then some of other Sandler's films. She really hasn't been in a ton of like mainstream stuff, at least that I've seen, which is unfortunate because I do think she's actually a pretty good actress. And I think she's really good in this. So I'd love to have her on. And honestly, too, like out of the cast of characters in this movie, she seems like the only like actual civil and kind of sane person. So just having like a normal conversation about kind of what happened versus everybody else would probably be more of kind of an unreliable narrator. So I think she'd be a good pick.
And realistically, having the PR director on the pod makes the most sense. She can, go out there and get the message, make sure it's very clear,
True. Who's your pick?
Call me crazy, but let's get Ben Stiller's character on the pod.
Oh my gosh.
I want to know what it's all about. Like, why did he choose to work with old people if he hates them so much? Is it like a family business? Is it he likes the power trip of it all? Like, there's a deep psychological dive I want to get into with this character. So we're gonna investigate.
You just want to know why you're pulling a Paul Dano spider move and just want to have a therapy session.
That's all. I just want to know why. Why are you the way you are?
Are we doing this in person or is it a virtual pod here?
Cody, Zoom, man. We'll be fine. He'll zoom in from he'll hold an old lady at gunpoint to like.
Yeah. If we're in person, I'm gonna be scared, but that'll be an interesting one. I would like to see that. Who do you want to fight?
The hockey coach from the beginning of the movie is very deserving.
I love that guy.
Mainly because, listen, you don't have to put Sandler on the team, but you don't have to be such an asshole about it when he asks, hey, did my number get called? Like, just tell him no, he's not on the team. Like, you don't have to pull that shit of, I don't know, did you hear your number get called? Well, then you're not on the fucking team. Deck him. I'm surprised. Yeah, better next year. I'm surprised Happy didn't deck him, to be honest. And then Shooter
he did.
Well,
he tried. I think he hit him. He tried if he did.
Yeah, fair enough. I would probably lose that fight, though, to be fair. And then Shooter McGavin, of course, for misogyny and such.
Yeah, I mean that's an obvious one. So I back both of those. I think those would be good fights too. I don't know about Shooter, but I think you could take the hockey coach. It depends if it's on ice, I guess. But that's a key factor.
He's old. That's for sure.
You can take it. I mentioned this guy already a couple times, but it's the guy who keeps shaking his head, disappointed at Sandler the entire movie. And I think he does have one line about Grizzly Adams, right? It's like, oh, wait, Grizzly Adams does have a beard. So that's just one line. But I think he's some like obscure golf guy because his IMDb is nothing else other than this and some golf movie. But I mean, how can you go the whole movie shaking your head at people and nobody kind of give you a response back? So I think he just deserves to get decked in the face a couple times. Yeah.
I think there is only like 2 actual golf people in the movie, and that is one of them. So there you go.
Shout out to him. I don't know his name, but he makes me laugh every time.
I want to knight his ex-girlfriend. She gets a lot of hate.
Really?
So
oh wow.
She deserves some respect from somewhere. The line that I think is the worst was when he goes, I see those finger paintings you bring home and they suck. She's a kindergarten teacher, man. She's fucking, shaping the future of our country. She's deserving. She needs more respect than fucking Happy Gilmore's giving her.
I kind of disagree. I mean, she's walking out on him. She's being an asshole too. So interesting night there. I back to finger painting though. Those are probably pretty good. Shout out to the kindergartners. My night, it's going to be the alligator. I mean, like we've been saying, he takes a beating from Sandler for pretty much no reason. And then he befriends Chubbs in heaven. So, I mean, he sounds like a stand-up guy. Him and Chubbs obviously had their beef. I mean,
they were killed by the same man.
Well, I mean, they were kind of killed by each other, if you think about it too. But yeah, I mean, Chubbs, he took Chubbs' hand and Chubbs took his eye. So they have beef, but they kind of settled it all and are kind of boys at the end of the movie. So I think he deserves a night here. And again, just to rattle off his name again, Morris. Shout out to Morris, the OG. I think this is the first alligator night in KHAP history, but it's well deserved.
Come on the pod, Morris. We'll see.
We want you on, Morris. If you're listening, we love you, bud.
The recast, Cody.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
Because I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Hey, I'm Batman.
No, dude. No, I'm Batman.
I already said it with the Geico caveman.
Is that actually your recast?
Stick him into the caddy role. I think it's basically interchangeable. You don't really have to even mess with the script at all.
I mean, you could do that for the sequel,
And then that's like product placement
Yeah.
for it's like a deep layer of like maybe that is the sequel move. It's like Happy Gilmore replaces his caddy with the Geico caveman, literally. And that's like he gets paid to do it.
Yeah, for sponsorship. I love that. I think you need to go to the writer's room immediately for Happy Gilmore too, because I think they'd be on board. But that is funny. I spoiled it earlier. Shout out to that. But I have a couple. And the first one, we've been talking about Dennis Dugan. I want to keep him as the director, but I want to replace him as an actor in this movie. So again, he's kind of like the president guy who's, just enforcing the rules and stuff. But for me, I want somebody with a little bit more gravitas. So how about we replace him with the dad from Step Brothers? The actor's name is Richard Jenkins, which I had no idea before looking it up. But I think he, especially, I mean, comedy-wise in Step Brothers, he he can kind of go to that extreme level that maybe Dennis Dugan didn't go in this movie. I just want to see him kind of challenge Sandler with his craziness one time in one scene, maybe. So I think that'd be a fun replacement.
Yeah, the guy's pretty laid back the whole time. He's very tepid, like, oh, should we kick him out? Should we stick around? He's not as hard nosed as that guy could be. I like that. Glenn Powell, Kody.
Oh my god,
your favorite. He could play a good Shooter McGavin, don't you think?
I think that'd be a fun role for him. I'd like to see him in a villain role. He's always, the lovable good guy, which I don't think I really like from him. So that'd be fun. Cast him in the second one.
Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, he's a dick. He's a dick, but he's still a good guy. There's no real villains in that movie. It's like, who are the bad guys? I don't know. Just some guys in planes who shot us.
Kazakhstan, I think.
Sure.
Unnamed country.
Yeah, we don't like them.
Stands. That's what we don't like. The stands with oil.
The stands.
What's your pitch for a sequel though? For real, like what are we doing? Is it kids? Is it Shooter McGavin's kids versus Sandler's kids?
I don't think so. I think it's got to be.
Is it a women's hockey movie?
I would watch
Sandler's daughter. You cast her in it.
I think it's got to be like a senior tour thing, or they're probably both retired, and some sort of incident. I don't know who dies. Like we say, if you're making a sequel, somebody's got to die to bring everybody together. Maybe grandma. I don't know. Maybe Shooter shows up to grandma's funeral.
Dead.
What other characters are there? I don't know.
Bowen. I don't know.
Yeah,
Shooter.
I would want to bring. They should bring back Julie Bowen though. That's my main thing. Is like bring back the core cast. I think you have to have McDonald, Sandler, and Julie Bowen all back. I think Sandler's living a nice happy life. No pun intended. Actually, that's very crazy. But he's got family, and then
that is crazy, Kody.
And then Christopher McDonald brings some sort of challenge. I don't know what they're gonna do, honestly, but I if there was a good pitch, they probably would have done it like 5 years after this movie instead of 25 or 30 or whatever it is now. So not great.
They were waiting for the right idea, Kody.
Yeah, that's what Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull said too, and that worked out pretty well. So
and then the Dial of Destiny as well.
Yeah, I love going back to the Roman age. I did have one other recast too. I want to shout out super quick.
I think they were Greek.
You're probably right. Shout out Aristotle, but I don't think it's Greek. But you already mentioned it too. I wanted to replace the caddy as well. But how about instead of the gecko guy, let's get Chris Farley. I think if we throw in one of Sandler's friends, Chris Farley is one of my favorites of the bunch there. And I think that would have been perfect. A super small role for him, but he would have added a little bit more kind of comedy punch, I think, versus the hobo jokes.
Aristotle is Greek for the record, but Chris Farley, that's at least a good casting. So you redeemed yourself.
I'll take it. Didn't I just say Aristotle was Greek? I think I was right. Reroll the footage. I don't think it's Greek. I don't think it's Greek. I don't think it's Greek.
The recast is done. Rating, Kody. What do you want to rate this movie out of 69?
As you proceed through the poetry in this book, practice this rating method.
Yeah. So I'm very interested to see where you're putting this, since you just claimed that Space Jam was better. But I mean, this is
an amazing movie though. So it's not a knock on this.
I don't know. Space Jam's pretty bad, dude. But for me, I've said this the entire episode, but love this movie. This is a 5-star movie for me. Not perfect. Obviously, we had a little plot lines in the bad that I nitpick. But this is a top 5 movie. 67 out of 69. We're going big.
Wow, that is some top tier. I mean, this is like almost favorites territory stuff, Kody. It's real impressive.
Oh, it's up there.
I'm gonna give this a 48. This is to me like a good 3.5-star movie. It does have a lot of positives for me.
Unbelievable.
But like it's not like laugh out loud funny. It's not the funniest comedy I've ever seen. And I'm not a big golf guy, not a big hockey guy. I think if I liked those sports more,
that's fair.
If this was the baseball version of that, like if Benchwarmers was this like well made and well written, like I would probably love that movie. But that's just like where it's like that's kind of shittier actors and a shittier story and a worse sense of character and like kind of a grosser outlook on life than this has. And so if this was more like if this was a baseball version, then I would be in love with it. But it's not.
I like that. Instead of if it wasn't golf and it was baseball instead.
Cricket,
a hockey player,
cricketer, yeah.
No cricket. But I back that. I mean that makes sense. But
what's that movie called? $1 Million Arm.
Yeah.
Shout out to John Hamm.
Amy Adams? No, that is John Hamm. Amy Adams is Trouble with the Curve.
Trouble with the Curve. Clint Eastwood.
I like that movie.
But also you think
Justin
$1 Million Baby, which is also Clint.
The Swank Girl. Morgan Freeman.
Tomato.
Tomato. I'm throwing tomatoes.
Adam Sandler. Let's just do it, Kody.
Okay.
Let's just Sandler.
I was gonna say I don't know too many other Julie Bowen movies, but we could have done Carl Weathers. I don't know that many movies.
A couple Rockies. So I wanna start strong, I think. I think I just want to try and think, is there a better option than an Uncut Gems? Like, is there a higher rated Sandler movie that I can think of? That Bat Mitzvah movie was like weirdly highly rated, wasn't it? You're so not coming to my Bat Mitzvah.
Yeah, I think
I'm just gonna go Pixels and take a really low movie.
Pixels. I bet that's pretty mid. I bet that's like 40s.
18%. Historically bad film.
That's bad. Okay.
So that sets the standard of the bottom tier. Obviously, we're trying to do the biggest gap here for tomato. So.
I feel like it'd be smart for me to go, obviously, higher tier here. But I do have a lot of fun picks I'm thinking of for really bad Sandler movies. I think you're on the right train of thinking there. I mean, I think we mentioned his two best movies here. But I'm trying to think if he's in anything else small that would be highly rated. There's gotta be like some voice acting role that he's in like a good movie or something.
Hotel Transylvania.
The thing
1, 2, and
2. The thing is too, like I feel like Uncut Gems maybe wouldn't have the highest rating. I'm gonna go with Punch Drunk Love as my first pick.
I was gonna swoop in and grab that if you didn't. So
I don't know. Fair. It'll be interesting to see where
79%, Kody. So
it's not that good. It's not that good.
I can slam the door in your face very easily.
I don't know. I can think of some pretty bad Adam Sandler movies. I'm surprised the PTA movie's that low, to be fair. But
yeah,
fair enough.
I think I'm gonna take not Uncut Gems actually.
Really?
Just because you got me thinking voice acting, and I think that Leo movie, The Lizard, was good. I think people like that. So
that might be sneaky pick there.
82%. I think that's
good pick.
We live with that. I can live with an 82%.
I did not think about that at all. I missed that one. Oh, you should look up what is Uncut Gems while I'm thinking of a really bad movie. So I'm going in between two.
91. So yeah, it would have been.
Damn. Okay. Well, I should have taken that. Okay. I mean, my mind immediately goes to Jack and Jill, and I think that is what I'm going to pick here. But you got like Little Nicky, you got Daddy's Boy, just so bad, whatever that one's called. But I'm gonna go with Jack and Jill. That's got to be one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
All right, so 79 minus 64. So you need to get a 15% or lower.
I think it's
high.
That should be lower.
And I think this is kind of in the 40s, to be honest. That's my guess.
What? If this is over 15,
I will say
in trouble.
I like Jack and Jill.
Dunkachino?
3%. Oh no.
Yeah.
Cody, you sniped it.
I don't think anybody likes that movie but you. You're part of that 3%.
36% audience score. The audience likes it. That's just 97% of people who are wrong about this film. It's Al Pacino's best performance in the 21st century.
I mean, that can't be true. I don't know. I don't know his filmography that well, but that's got to be his worst performance in his career. Really, really bad movie. If you haven't seen that, I wouldn't even look it up because
It's all projected on 35 millimeter. Very fun.
Sandler plays his own sister. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah, great film.
She's totally not.
And Al Pacino tries to fuck
Adam Sandler, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, his sister Jill. He's playing a character. He's playing a woman.
Who's played by Adam Sandler? Yeah.
Yeah. What's wrong with that? Weekly watches. Congratulations on winning that.
How's the movie?
What movie?
Weekly watches, Kody. What have you been into recently?
So I've been into a good amount here. First off, a little bit of TV. I caught up on The Acolyte, the first couple episodes. I don't know. I didn't really love it. If I'm being completely honest, pretty stupid how they just waste Carrie-Anne Moss instantly, who is kind of the person I was most excited to see, playing a Jedi in the Star Wars series. And then, I mean, I guess this is spoiler alert. I doubt anybody really cares, but they play up the whole like twin thing where the main girl, Steinberg, right? I don't know.
Amanda Stenberg.
Rue from Hunger Games. She's got an evil twin. So I don't really like that either. And the first 2 episodes I didn't really love. So we'll see if I keep watching that. Hopefully not. But I have been into a good deal of movies. Oh, one thing I want to mention too that I watched a while ago, actually, that I forgot to mention in our last episode. I checked out Hereditary for the first time. And I actually really, really liked it. Shout out to the little girl. Because her specific moment about halfway through, I was just, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my God. Like,
very shocking. Yeah.
Yeah, this is about to go crazy. And then it did go crazy. I think I've heard you say before too, of like, you don't like the ending that much, which I do agree. I think it's maybe just like 15 minutes too long. But overall, I mean, horror-wise, that's definitely my favorite Ari Aster movie. And it's probably up there for one of my favorite A24s. So I do want to revisit that fairly soon. And then some other stuff recently. A really fun thing I did yesterday. So I watched Spaceman. And then in between, before I watched Happy Gilmore, I watched Twister, another 90s classic. And I don't know why, man, but I love that movie too. That is like,
you love it, but you won't trade Twisters. You won't.
Well,
give it. You don't want it.
Well, the sequel, they got Glenn Powell, and they're doing Fire Twisters, so looks terrible. I do like Daisy Edgar Jones a lot, though, so shout out to her. But I mean, the OG, I was a little disappointed with some of the CG. Like all the CG for the tornadoes actually looks pretty good, but there's some like weird like tractors they do and some other stuff that is like that just looks terrible. Like you didn't need to do that. But it's super cheesy. I mean, it's super 90s, but it's also intense. Like the opening scene where her dad gets sucked into this F5. It's one of my favorite movie scenes of all time. Like it's so intense. It sets up this character so well. And then Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, like they have insane chemistry. And you have so many fun side characters. Philip Seymour Hoffman and the guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off plays one of the guys. So I love that flick. Alan Ruck, yeah. Shout out Cameron. And then some other random stuff too. I checked out the Iron Claw finally for the first time.
What about the part when the lion shows up? In the Tin Man?
The what?
The lion?
Wizard of Oz? Dorothy, good reference. I didn't even get that reference. Good reference. And then, I checked out the Iron Claw, which was very sad, but it was very good.
As a brother, you felt that one?
Yeah, I didn't cry, fortunately, because I kind of knew it was going to be sad. But yeah, just really sad and depressing, really. But pretty good stuff there. And then I watched Hitman 2, which we were talking about a little bit before the pod. I think this movie's overrated, if I'm being completely honest. Linklater, he's definitely made better stuff. Glenn Powell's fun. He's fun. He's good. I like the different roles he does. Like the Tilda Swinton one is super fun, and he gets to be creative. But just like story wise, it's just like, yeah, like these are two hot people, like having a sex scene. Like, yeah, like I'll watch that, but I don't think it's necessarily good cinema. And then like he lies to her the entire time, and then they just don't care about it at the end. It's like, oh, I guess we're still gonna be together, even though he literally lied the entire relationship, which is pretty weird. I don't like the ending too. I mean, won't go full spoilers, but I don't know. I don't see the hype with it, if I'm being completely honest. I know you have varying thoughts.
I enjoyed the movie. I think it is a Glenn Powell showcase, and similar way to Happy Gilmore being a Adam Sandler vehicle. And like what Glenn Powell, this movie's kind of like 3 different movies, right? And you've got the like fun, goofy comedy for the first 40 minutes where it's
I like
Glenn
that.
Powell doing hijinks, and like that
Yeah.
stuff is fantastic. I don't know where you go with that, or like how you tell a full movie with that necessarily that isn't just something silly. And then you've got the like really hot, sexy romance that's happening between him and Adriana Arjona, and they both look incredible, and like the stuff is really steamy. And I think there is just a certain degree of like, you don't get a lot of sex in movies these days. Like movies, not like, yes, there's sex, but not with two people that have that much chemistry and that much charisma and are just like being movie stars on screen, right? Like this is what this stuff the fucking movies are about. Like Hitman is like the movies, Kody.
How? I feel like this should be a TV show. It shouldn't
It's
even be a
fucking
movie.
beautiful people doing crimes and falling in love.
You just like watching
and then
Glenn
at the
Powell
end,
have sex, I think.
And then at the end, it goes a little bit into like a noir, and you know, gets pretty dark and has again like a bad ending that's supposed to make you feel bad. And I don't think it doesn't work on me as well. And I didn't love the side character, the other cop, and just kind of the thing that stuff that doesn't work with me is just like the general setup of like the police department and like the entrapment stuff. And like, that's just all I don't love, but that's the stuff that's based on the true story. So everything else they took liberties with.
Yeah. I think it's just a mess of the script, kind of just how you described it there too. Kind of proves it, but whatever. People are gonna hype it up, but don't believe it. And then my last one I wanted to shout out to, I watched Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit for the first time, because I keep seeing like TikTok clips of like that the bad guy Penguin, who kind of was a badass.
He's coming back, dude.
I know, and he's coming back for the sequel, so I want to get caught up. But he's not in this movie. This movie is like a Halloween movie about
Watched the wrong one.
a were-rabbit. Yeah, so I was like, wait, so where's this penguin at? It's actually in the Wallace and Gromit TV show. It's like one specific episode. So I went and watched that too. It's called The Wrong Trousers, and you can watch it on Amazon. Pretty good. Kind of a dumb premise with the trousers, but everything with like this bad guy penguin is really fun. So I'm excited for the sequel.
Coming to Netflix, speaking up later this fall.
Yeah.
So in the world of animation, we had a release this past weekend. It's called the Garfield movie, Kody. I guess it was 2 weekends ago. Fucking despicable shit. Just everyone involved.
Chris Pratt good at least, or
no?
What about Sam Jackson?
Sam Jackson, dude, it's crazy. First of all, he's playing his dad. It's like a dad. It's a father-son story, which maybe you'll relate to this one, Kody. It's about abandonment, and it literally don't. I'm just fucking around. No, but literally, the movie is about how like Sam Jackson leaves his son to go get some milk and doesn't come back. Like it's like, what is happening in my Garfield movie? Dude?
That's tough.
What is going on? And he likes Odie. They're homies. He doesn't like Garfield. Only has a couple traits, and one of them is not liking dog.
Yeah, but Odie's an OG, bro. You can't hate that guy.
It's a spy movie. It's like an Ocean's 11 heist in there.
It seems like it's not a Garfield movie, right? Like
no, and there's some villain cats and a villain bulldog, and it's just really not fun at all. I wouldn't recommend taking a child or yourself
or an adult. Yeah.
Yeah. I did stay awake through the whole thing, so I thought for a second it didn't Minions Rise of Groomy, but
close.
I also went and saw The Watchers with Mina, which is on her fantasy filmography team. She was quite disappointed, and I was less disappointed because I didn't care as much, but it's not good. I'll say that. One word. And then
there it is.
Some other stuff that I watched as I was around the Hitman Linklater train. I was kind of doing a little bit of a self deep dive. So I watched Boyhood for the first time, rewatched Dazed and Confused, which if you haven't listened to our episode, did a great one on it a couple years ago. And then I watched Everybody Wants Some as well, which I don't know if you know about that one, but that's a baseball movie as well. A little 80s college baseball movie, and pretty fun stuff. I'm a Linklater fan for sure. I watched The Mist, Kody. You like that?
I do like that movie.
You're a big Mist guy. And
big twist.
It has a really sad ending. Listen to our episode about twists.
Yeah.
The last thing that I saw last night after we saw The Watchers in theater, Mina and I went and checked out Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior on a 35 millimeter projection.
Nice.
And I really liked this. In my Mad Max rankings, I actually place it above Furiosa. I think I started to watch the first Mad Max 2. I haven't quite finished it yet. I know I'm doing it way out of order, but a lot of the fun world building, excessive, extravagant nature that exists in Fury Road really begins in Mad Max 2 in The Road Warrior. It's, doesn't live up to Fury Road because there's just, 20 years of technology and safety and filmmaking that like George Miller learns in between making those movies and budget that he gains. But it's incredibly well made, and the villains are crazy and sick as they usually are in Mad Max movies. And Mel Gibson is a compelling silent lead. It's a really fun movie, and seeing it with an audience, like getting to laugh at just like a lot of the absurdity of like these crazy Australian big, humongous is the villain, and he's like this guy who wears assless chaps and a fucking Freddy mask, basically. Like it's fun.
That's fun. I'll check that out. I've never seen that either.
Yeah, definitely a good time, and just one of those, old school screenings on film in New York City. Gotta love
that.
I also watched Gen V, Kody, which I binged through that whole series, and The Boys season 4 is coming out later this week. So
I believe sure tonight. I believe the first few episodes.
It will be out
at
the time of this release. So I enjoyed Gen V. I think the coolest thing about it, and obviously it's like the main pitch of the show, but you watch 3 seasons of The Boys and you're on the human side the entire time, and you're like, yeah, fuck these superheroes, let's kill them all. And then watch Gen V and you're like, oh shit, there's a way to kill all the superheroes, and I hope nobody gets it. Like, I hope they destroy it and stop it, because this is pretty fucked up shit. Like, it flips the perspective in the POV, and it does it in an extremely successful way that I like.
I agree too. I think it puts more of the hateability on like the company versus these actual soups. So,
which is what, like, to a certain extent, the show's always been about. It's been about like, corporatized.
I don't know. Most of these soups are complete dickheads, though. So
yeah, but I mean, it's really been about how corporations run our country, and whether it's superheroes or famous people, they prop up
so much commentary,
do whatever they want. Yeah,
that's one of my favorite things about it.
And it was announced that they actually are going to end the show after 5 seasons and not, push it on beyond where it needs to go. So I'm excited for that. It's obviously, it's not a perfect show. I think at sometimes the parody is the lines get a little bit blurred, and of course the fan bases sometimes don't recognize it, but the writer has made it very clear that this shit's just about, like, fucking Donald Trump's America. Like, that's what it comes down to. And important time for that to be being talked about, for sure.
Perfect time to release it. And we'll have an update, I'm sure, for this next season when it comes all the way out. So stay tuned for that.
I don't know what our next episode will be, but I'm sure we're going to be talking about something. I guess it's my pick next.
Your pick, if you want to.
Maybe we'll get a guest in here. It's been a minute. So
yeah, that is also true.
But thank you guys for listening to this episode. Stay capping.
Stay capping.
And happy Gilmore.
Yeah, guys.
Peace.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.